but we
Yeah.
both have powerful stories, and sometimes people
Mm-hmm.
don't know what to say. So
Yep.
if we could make them laugh, I think it takes their stress level down a little bit, and then opens
Yep.
a door where they're comfortable with us.
I agree, and I've been doing that my whole life, because I have cerebral palsy, and like you said, some people just don't know how to react and don't know what to do. Well, if I can take that edge off with a joke, then people just kind of open up.
Yep.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Infinite Ability Podcast. I am your host, Nick Yerhart, and we are here to encourage each other to find our own unique abilities. Let's go. All right, everyone. On today's episode, I'm super excited because I have Michael, and I can't wait for you to hear his story because I know it's going to help you a lot. So, Michael, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, thanks for having me on your show. I really appreciate it. I don't know if we're going to help anyone. That's not what you told me. No. Yeah, it's, we all have powerful stories, and mine took place when I was 8 weeks old.
Mm-hmm.
My family and I were hit by a drunk driver on September 19th, 1970. My father was driving us home from Long Island, New York. My brother, who was 3, was sleeping in the back seat. My mom was next to my dad in the front middle seat, and I was next to my mom in a little baby carrier. Mm-hmm. We were less than a mile away from our house at a red light when, as our light turned green, my father started to go through the intersection when a drunk driver plowed through the intersection and T-boned the car on my side. The force of the impact was so great, it woke up the neighbors from around the intersection. Wow. And pushed our car into a telephone pole and split the car all the way up to the dashboard. So when the first responders arrived, they found 2 metals of mess. It was 1970, right? They built cars to last back then, not like today, where a shopping cart could cost $10,000 worth of damage on your car. And they found my dad, they found my brother, they found my mom. They didn't even know I was in the car because I wasn't making any noise. They had no idea. They couldn't tell it at 11 p.m. because it was just a mess of metal. And then someone found me 10, 15 minutes later, sandwiched between the door and the dash of the car. Wow. We were taken to the hospital. My brother didn't have a scratch on him. My dad had to get stitches on his face from the windshield, on his nose, his forehead, his cheek. My mom was taken into surgery. And as for me, Nick, nearly every bone in my body was broken. My skull was completely fractured from one side of my head to the other. So the fact that I am almost 54 years old and talking to you today is a blessing. I grew up to be a competitive swimmer. I went to college on a swimming scholarship. And I've been doing a program, which I'll talk about in a second, but let me talk about my mom. My mom, who was 28, died due to her injuries in the car crash. So I never knew my mom because of a drunk driver. The word mom isn't in my own vocabulary. It's just not there. It's no different than the word the. It has no emotion behind it, no love, no nothing. And you're talking to a guy that never knew his mom because of someone made a wrong decision that day. I'm 54 years old and no memories of her, no nothing. And I turned that trauma and grief into purpose. And I've been doing a program called The Magic of Life for almost 30 years where I have a fun, interactive program which involves comedy because I've been a comedian for almost 30 years too. So there's humor involved. And it's about preventing impaired driving it's impaired driving prevention to high schools, colleges, military bases. I've been doing a local court here in Northeast Ohio for 12 years, talking to DUI offenders to inspire them to don't drive impaired ever again. I mean, they're lucky. They didn't kill anyone. They didn't hurt anyone. Sure, they're a little bit lighter in the wallet to pay for a DUI, but if my story can inspire someone to make better decisions, then okay. And I know how lucky I am to be here. And as you know, and some of your listeners know, if we could turn our tragedy or grief into purpose to help others, then that's pretty meaningful. And then we're doing something to help better society.
Yep, exactly. And that's why at the beginning I said, your story is going to help others because, I know when I talked to you the last time, it really helped me. It's like, because I have family and friends that I see go out and drink and drive, and now I have the courage to stand up and say something.
That's
You know what I
awesome.
mean?
Oh,
So
I'm so
it's,
happy to hear that. And we
yeah.
have to. I'm not against the use of alcohol.
Hmm.
I'm against if it harms yourself or others, and especially, with impaired driving.
Hmm.
But also about, as we talked about before, men's grief and health and trauma and trying to help other people navigate through theirs, especially for men,
Yep.
because it's not
Hmm.
easy. And,
No.
if we could do it with humor, and, we both talked, about how humor is our coping mechanism in a healthy way,
Yep.
and
Yep.
rightly so. And that's a great way to balance everything out. A lot of
Hmm.
times when we're going through grief and trauma and tragedy.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. I love humor. I crack jokes all the time, and a lot of the jokes are about myself. But it's like, hey, I can make fun of myself. That's okay. you know.
Well, yeah, we're the easiest target, right? When we can talk about
Yeah,
ourselves and put us in that way, and also reduces tension for other people too, right? Because
exactly.
we
Yeah.
both have powerful stories, and sometimes people
Hmm.
don't know what to say. So
Yep.
if we could make them laugh, I think it takes their stress level down a little bit, and then opens
Yep.
a door where they're comfortable with us.
I agree, and I've been doing that my whole life. Because I have cerebral palsy, and like you said, some people just don't know how to react and don't know what to do. Well, if I can take that edge off with a joke, then people just kind of open up. So
Yep.
yeah, it really helps.
Yeah, totally agree.
Yep. So you say you've been doing this for 30 years. So what all are you doing?
So mainly now, since COVID kind of stopped a lot of high schools programs. I've done a couple since then. So my
Hmm.
main focus has been, I founded a nonprofit organization called the Magical Life Foundation,
Awesome.
where hopefully we could raise money to help kids impacted by drunk driving. I
Hmm.
had a woman named Dolly who helped raise me and my brother along with my dad. What happened was my grandmother put an ad in the newspaper shortly after the car crash for part-time help. And this
Hmm.
woman, Dolly, who's originally from Jamaica, she was living in England as one of the first police women, but then she came to New York in October of 1970 to visit her sister for like 3 months and saw the ad in the
Hmm.
newspaper. Well, she answered it.
Okay.
Long story short, came to the house, met me in my little crib, and she put her fingers inside the crib, and I latched onto him, and I smiled, and she said, "This is where I
Hmm.
need to be." But
Hmm.
she was hired to be a part-time worker, what turned into a lifetime role. So she raised me and my brother as her own flesh and blood.
Hmm.
Um, so through her and she taught me along with my dad about compassion and what the human spirit could do. We started a nonprofit and to help kids because not every kid who loses a parent to drunk driving, whatever it is, has someone like Dolly. So if we can help other kids or families, then we will.
Hmm.
So that's one part of the nonprofit. The other part is speaking and going to places
Hmm.
to share, my story, so we can help save some lives and change lives. So along
Hmm.
with that and doing comedy, doing podcasts like yours and talk about my story to help others, that's pretty much it. And I think if you could use humor and make a difference in someone's life, then we're doing something pretty special.
Yep. I agree, and what you're doing is absolutely incredible. So I gotta ask, what's your favorite joke right now that you do?
Oh gosh, one of them is about my dad. Um, and it comes. Well, I have two. My favorite one. I'll start. My favorite one is my closing line bit, and that is colleges are starting to get weird. They're getting out of control because some of them are starting to put the morning after pill in vending machines. And that's a horrible idea. Because now how pissed off you get when a bag of chips gets stuck.
That's great. That's really
That's
great.
my close. It's
That's
one of my closing
awesome.
bits. The other one is about my dad and how I'm turning into my father, and we always turn into our parents. But
Yeah.
for my dad, my behavior's turning into him. My hairline starting to look like my dad's too. But it makes sense because my signature looks like my father's. I used to forge it a lot as a kid. Not on checks. I'm not a criminal, but on report cards. Because believe it or not, Nick, I used to get D's and F's. And the teacher would say, here, Michael, here's your report card. Make sure your dad sees this, signs it, and bring it back tomorrow. I'm like, tomorrow? We'll have it back after lunch. How about that? So there's
That's
two for
great.
you.
Thank you.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.
I needed that today.
Good.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, let's transition. You say you help men with grieving.
Well, not directly, but I think through these podcasts, I've done many with other guys who focus on mental health and that type of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So by talking about my own story, and it's in my own book too, when my father passed away in 2018 and my aunt passed away 90 days later, I was down that slippery slope where grief was just getting a hold of me. And I had a plan. It's not like I wanted to die. I just wanted the pain to stop, but I had a plan to end it all. And I had two good friends that noticed how bad I was, and I ended up in grief counseling, and that really saved my life. And I think for men, asking for help is not a sign of weakness, but it's a sign of strength. And it's probably one of the best things I ever did in my entire life, because I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. But I also thought, well, I couldn't send my family back to the cemetery 3 times within 6-7 months. And I couldn't do it to my friends, because we also lost one of my best friends was a drunk driver, and he died as a result of being a drunk driver. So I also saw what his death did to my best friends, and I didn't want to put them through that either. So by talking about my story and going to grief counseling and getting help for depression and grief, and then having the tools to then cope in a healthy way, that it's been a blessing to do that too, because I have no fear in talking about it anymore. Where, I read a lot about Brene Brown's books about vulnerability and shame and those type of things, and then having the courage to do it. Because we both know if we share our stories on depression or grief, a lot of times we think we are the only ones going through it, but there's millions of people going through it, right? But it only takes that one person to hear another person's story to go, you know what? I feel much better now that I heard Nick's story or Michael's story, and I realize I'm not alone in this. And I think that's so key for other men to know, going, you're not alone, and get help, when you need it. Because my grief counselor, her first question or really statement was, hey, let's talk about your mom's death and how that impacted all your relationships. And I was like, I'm not here to talk about my mom. I'm here to talk about my dad and my aunt's death. But she was right. I was 47 years old, and for the very first time processing my mom's death. And, that was an eye-opener for me. And even though I talked about it on stage, in my program, it wasn't like the in-depth we got into it in counseling. So, medication's one part of it if you need it, but, you need counseling as the other half of getting better.
Yeah. And I resonate with that personally a lot, because almost 5 years ago now, I lost my dad to brain cancer. And I didn't start grieving, I don't think, until like a year ago. I just kept holding it all in, bottling it up. I was the one that had the strength from my mom and my sister, so they had someone to go to, and I didn't really have someone, to go to talk to. And thankfully, through the coaches I've had over the past year and a half, I worked through a lot of it, but I still know there's more grieving I need to go through. There's still a lot that I bottle up and I need to work on, so I'm working on it. slowly, I guess.
Yeah.
But
Well,
it's hard, you know.
I'm going to change that sentence a little bit. I think we're always
Okay.
going to be grieving, but it's how we cope with it, right? And how we heal.
Exactly.
So it's that healing process. Because,
Yeah.
I've been grieving for my mom for all these years. That part stays with us, but it's that healing. And I don't think we ever I don't know if we're ever fully healed, but I think we're always in that healing process.
Yeah, I agree. Like,
yeah.
And like when I talk about it, I say it doesn't get easier. You just learn how to deal with it.
Yeah.
That's kind of just how it is. So I miss him every day, and it's just like you just continue to learn how to handle it, I guess.
You're 100% correct. And then when we have those tools on those really, really hard days, it's still going to be hard, but if we know something that we could do, it's not as difficult to get us through that,
Exactly.
right? I mean, we can be paralyzed for that day and go, I don't want to do anything, but yet we may get up and take a shower, which might be the best thing, whereas months ago we may went, I'm not even going to do that. I'm just going to lay here and not do anything. And that shower is a win for that day.
Yeah, exactly. The little wins can go a long ways on days like that.
Oh, definitely.
And
definitely.
Something that helped me a lot is journaling. When you journal, it really helps you realize, exactly what you're going through, and it helps you work out how to solve that problem or whatever you're going through. So that's something that I do a lot also.
Yeah, that's awesome that you do that. How many journals do you think you have?
So I use my phone.
Okay.
So I have an app that I journal on. So because it takes me a long time to write anything, so I just use my phone. I usually talk it out, and then I can read it, and it works so good.
Okay, that's awesome.
I don't think it's as good as actually physically writing it in a journal, but like I said, it takes a while. My hands start to hurt, and it's So
yeah, but what a healthy way
to use my phone.
That's cool. All right.
Yeah. So, if you want to leave the audience with one piece of advice, what would that be?
Listen to the rock band Kiss as much as possible.
Love it.
Even though I'm wearing my Tesla shirt today, so it's Kiss first, Tesla second.
There you go.
Listen to the 80s rock music. Actually, you can't be in a bad mood when you listen to that.
I agree.
I think, if you are struggling, be a burden to someone. Get help, get assistance, because your life is precious. It means something. And take it from two guys like us, where we figured out a way to ask for help and that strength and to get better and to cope. So I definitely think for someone, don't be ashamed of feeling depressed or going through grief or trauma or whatever it is. Stand tall and ask for help, because it's one of the best things that you can ever do, because you do have loved ones that care about you, and no one wants to see you get hurt or unfortunately, like some, pass away through suicide or whatever it is. Ask for help, man, and then let's help you get on the right track and living life like you should be. And don't drive impaired.
Yes, definitely don't drive impaired at all. Doesn't matter what you're using, just don't drive.
Yep.
So, and if you need help, you can reach out to either one of us. I know that both of us would be willing to help you out.
100%. Yes, I would.
All right, so my slogan is your abilities are infinite. What does that mean to you?
Oh, wow. My abilities. My ability to make people laugh, my ability to inspire others, I think are top two right there. I think those two combined together, I think are like my superpowers, and
Yep.
which pretty much fit it into your slogan, in terms of those abilities and how we can help other people.
I love it. I love it. Thank you. And then if people want to reach out to you, how can they find you?
Oh, they can't. I'm hiding from everyone, Nick. I'm hiding from everyone, man. They can come and find me. The easiest way is michaelgershe.com. So it's MichaelGershe.com. And then there's a page on there with all my social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram for photography. The Magical Life Foundation also has a Facebook page. But my personal Facebook page is probably the best way for them to come and find me. And then on the website, they can find my TED Talks. They can find other podcasts, links to my photo page for photography too.
All right, awesome. I'll drop the link to your website in the show notes so everybody can find you.
Cool.
Awesome. Do you have any last words of wisdom or maybe a joke?
Oh, one more. Let's see. Can I do another? Let's see. What could be another quick joke for you? I mean, there's just so many now. I'm drawing a blank. Of stuff.
I know how that goes.
Right. I don't even know anymore. I mean, I'm trying to think of a quick one. Well, let me do one about being Jewish Jamaican for you, since I talked about that briefly. And that is, I grew up with a white Jewish family and a black Jamaican family. And Dolly, God bless her, she always wanted to blend the cultures together like all the time. Like, if you've ever been to Jamaica, Jamaicans love something called curry. Not like the curry we get here in the States, but curry is so hot you bleed out your eyeballs. So one year for Passover, she decided to make curry matzo ball soup. Yeah, I have never heard a rabbi scream, "Jesus Christ, that's hot," before.
That's great.
So there you go. You
awesome.
made me think through my set list in terms of what I could do. What was nice and short for you. So
that's awesome. Thanks. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I was 3 for 3 with you, Nick. That's good.
Yeah, you did good. Really good. Awesome. All right, Michael, this has been really great. Thank you for everything. Thank you for what you do, and thank you for coming on the show.
Anytime, man. I appreciate it. Thank you for the opportunity.
If you enjoyed this show, please go ahead and share it on your Instagram story and tag me in the Nick Yerhart. Also, go ahead and share it anywhere else that you see fit, because the only way that I can grow this is by you guys sharing it. I don't sell anything on here. I don't have any sponsors. So let's just get it out there by word of mouth and help more people. Alright, everyone. Remember, your abilities are infinite.